study,
and play come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
Oh, Canada. You know, Canada Day always has a way of hitting pause for a second. It makes you look around and think about how strange, massive, incredible this country actually is. And we're still young. Confederation dates back to 1867. That puts us at 159 years old. In the grand sweep of human history, that's barely a blink. And yet, look at what sits here. Nearly 10 million square kilometers of land, mountains everywhere, oceans, endless forests, prairie towns that kind of feel like time forgot about them, cities that never stop moving, and winters that can shut down everything in a heartbeat. Now imagine you're trying to stitch that together in the late 1800s. No highways, no modern tech, just raw terrain, brutal weather, people pushing rail lines through mountains and wilderness trying to connect something that barely made sense on paper. But there was belief in the idea of Canada. Farming exploded, mining towns rose overnight, forestry became an industry backbone, immigration reshaped entire regions. And alongside of all of that, people fought to expand who got a voice in what this country would become. We still sell Canada to the world in simple terms: polite, peaceful, welcoming, clean air, big nature, universal healthcare, a place where life is supposed to feel balanced. But anyone living here right now knows it's more complicated than that. Grocery prices feel out of control. Same for gas prices. Housing in cities like Vancouver, where we're based, and Toronto can feel completely detached from reality. A lot of people are working harder than ever just to keep up, and still, something about this place keeps people here. Maybe it's the beauty. Maybe it's the mix of cultures. Maybe it's the idea that even with cracks showing, there's still something worth holding on to. Canada is messy. It's massive. Beautiful, frustrating, quiet, loud, conflicted, and somehow it still feels like home. So happy Canada Day if you call Canada home. Great to have you there, of course. My name is Todd Hancock. I wanted to say thanks to our sponsors for giving us the freedom to keep making these podcasts for you, like our title sponsor, Citywide Mortgage Services, good friends of the podcast. I've known one of the owners, Dara, for years and years now. Good dude. He helped me renew my mortgage at the start of 25. Couple phone calls, couple text messages, and it was done. Simple. Got a great rate, locked in. I can't do the variable rates. And of course, the Bank of Canada has dropped the key interest rate since I renewed. It's a good time for you to buy, renew, or refinance. Citywide's been doing it for decades. They've been in the game, working for you, not the big banks. They actually care about what happens. They're independent. They have access to over 30 lenders. Even if you've been turned down somewhere else before, they can usually find a way to make it work. So citywidemortgage.ca. It's who I trust. It's who I use for my mortgages. Citywidemortgage.ca. All right, so coming up in just a few minutes, listen to this. Former HollywoodLife.com senior editor Cassie Gill talks about the importance of networking. And if anyone's going to know, she would. That is powered by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley. RV service, repairs, they are ICBC accredited and coming up on 11 straight years as sponsor. Absolutely key to our run. Huge love to Tamra and her crew, of course. Find them online, kicking around from time to time, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. First, let's get to some musical guests in this Canada Day 2026 podcast, all of whom are powered by our good buddies at Parallel 49 Brewing, a craft beer powerhouse across British Columbia. They're huge. They're huge in Vancouver. That's where they started almost 15 years ago. A few buddies built something out of the pure love of beer. 2012 was the spark, and now their East Van Brewery produces dozens of beers with a tasting room and a street kitchen with more than 40 taps. It's a good little hang. It's literally, I could throw a baseball a couple times and hit their brewery, so it's close by. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So check them out through parallel49brewing.com. You ever stop and think about how young Canada really is? We touched on it off the top, but officially, Confederation happened, as mentioned, in 1867, which sounds like a long time ago, until you compare it to countries with thousands of years of recorded history. Almost 160 years old, Canada's still kind of figuring itself out in a lot of ways. But at the same time, Indigenous peoples have been living on this land for thousands of years before the country of Canada even existed. So when people talk about Canada's history, it's really two timelines running alongside each other. One's ancient and one's relatively new. And somehow all of that became this giant, complicated place that we live in now. A place where Valerie Ann Poxletner was born in Timmins, Ontario. Of course, you'll know Valerie better as Lights, one of Canada's most influential modern pop singers. Juno Award winner for Electronic Album of the Year, she's racked up multiple nominations across her career, cementing her status as one of our best. From Skin and Earth to global stages, she's built a blueprint for the futuristic pop that kind of feels ahead of its time still. Lights was one of the first music guests of this podcast, so we're going back to 2015 to spotlight her visit. So listen to what she said when I asked her about making a living in music 10 years from now, which of course would have been last year.
Oh, I don't know. It's definitely something that I think about a lot, and I'm unsure of my position on it. I mean, I know Taylor Swift pulled all of her stuff from any streaming sites, which is certainly contributing to the low album sales in the bigger picture. I mean, people are selling less albums than ever because you're able to pay a one-time subscription fee and get whatever you want.
She goes, it's definitely something I think about a lot, and I'm unsure of my position on it. Interesting to have perspective and hindsight. Here's another clip I wanted to play from you from Light's visit, talking about the weirdest thing to happen while out on the road touring.
One of the things that comes to my mind is we've been broken into a couple times. I mean, that seems like it's something that happens to every touring musician. We got back to our van, so we just had this little crappy tour van, and the window was broken out. We thought, okay, shoot, what was stolen? Let's check our stuff. And we went in, and there was like this coat in there that wasn't in there before, and one of our big winter coats was missing. So someone had gone in and taken off their coat and swapped it out for one that was in there, and there was like weed crumbles in the pocket and stuff. and it gets weirder. They took our vodka but didn't take the beer, and they sorted through our merch and pulled their sizes.
Right? Someone had gone in and taken off their coat, swapped it out for one that was in there, and there was like weed crumbles in the pocket. Weed crumbles. Damn, not sure who got the better deal there. So from Lights to Canadian rock heavyweights Billy Talent, clearly a dominant force in alt-rock since emerging from Ontario in the early 2000s. You'll know them best for their explosive live shows. They are simply outstanding. Socially conscious lyrics and instantly recognizable guitar work. Some of the best. Try Honesty, River Below, Fallen Leaves, Red Flag, Devil in a Midnight Mass, all big radio singles, multiple platinum-selling albums, widespread critical acclaim, several Juno Awards, and their bassist John Gallant was born in Streetsville, Ontario. So listen to John talking about Billy Talent's success overseas.
It's a little bit different. I kind of feel like they're more dedicated once they're into something, not as disposable as the North American culture is.
Yeah.
But I think the reasons why we had success over there is kind of really quite organic process, where on our first record, we had a record label over there that was really, really supportive, and they did the job right. They got us in the right situations, put us in the right, TV channels, and we got the radio play the same way we did in Canada. And it just kind of happened organically. We just started at clubs playing 200-seaters, then next time 500, and then we got to open for this great German punk rock band that put us in front of 2,000 kids a night. And and then all that combined it just made it work. And then once you kind of break in Germany, it's second biggest music market in the world, it starts to spread all over Europe.
So true. He goes, I kind of feel like they're more dedicated once they're into something. It's not as disposable. And of course, this goes back 10 years talking to John on the cast. It's sad, really, that music is as disposable as it is, and it shouldn't be. Social media, of course, is not helping things. And John talked about that changing musical landscape.
Yeah, that's a kind of it really has, and it's hard to keep up with, especially when you're not too interested. Like when you reach a certain age and cross a threshold, some of the newer things just don't interest you anymore. You just don't feel like learning it. Mm-hmm. So there's that whole process too. Like Snapchat, like I'm up to date on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I don't do, but I'm fine. Like I know all about it. And now there's Snapchat, and I'm like, okay, it's another thing. Like, do I really want to dive into this? And I don't.
like, do I need an Instagram page? Do I need to have,
But then you get people like I had my drum tech telling me the other day, you got to have Snapchat, man. All the bands are doing Snapchat. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Like, I guess we should do that. And so, that's how it's all changed. It's really bizarre. You're kind of, I don't know. It's just so fast. Things are so much faster than they were when we were young.
Right.
And, but we try to stay on top of it and relevant because it is important and it's cool. And I like to think that we're not dinosaurs and we can navigate through these waters. But it is what it is. And I think in general, I think it's really hurt music. But social media and the internet and everything, I think the quality of music was better in the past. Now I think there's really quality music, but there's just too much music. It's everywhere. People can make music too easily and also get it out there too easily. So there's just a saturation.
And that's so fair. He goes, it's hard to keep up with, especially when you're not interested in it, right? Once I stop podcasting, you'll hardly ever hear or see me online. Or if I am online, I'll probably just be there to chirp people off. And from the bassist of one of Canada's best rock bands to a Canadian singer-songwriter born in Smithers, BC. Hey, my first radio job was in Smithers. She's known for her pop rock sound and emotionally direct songs. Elena Aaron's breakout single, Build a Ship, reached number 2 on the CBC Top 20. Big momentum early on. She's since built a growing audience through millions of streams, Canadian radio play, Sirius XM support. And here, Elena talks about Build a Ship, again, getting picked up by the CBC.
One thing would be Build a Ship, my song, Build a Ship, getting played like all over CBC and Canadian radio. And it was like, the highlight that was cool about it was that, first of all, I wasn't even in Canada at the time because I had just moved over here to London.
Oh, crazy.
But it had got picked up by CBC radio, was getting played on like all the morning shows, all over radio, which was really cool. But I think what was the highlight was like one morning I woke up and my sister sent me this video from inside her car and she was like, I was just driving to work and I thought, how cool would it be? And she lives in Calgary, in the cold, in the snow, and she was like, I was driving to work and thought, cool would it be that like one day I'll turn on the radio and hear one of Elena's songs. So she's like, I never really listened to the radio, but I just turned the radio on and she's like, your song was playing.
Oh,
and so she was like, I had to pull over and take a video about it. And I was like, that is sick. That's cool.
That's so cool. Can you remember the first time you heard your stuff on radio?
Funny enough, it wasn't radio. It was like, I think in New York. 'Cause in New York, I always worked random jobs while I was doing music stuff. And I was working in this like random mall. And the people who like curated the music there, I think they realized I did music and had put some of, I don't know if they were playing like Spotify radio channels or what kind of stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
But they put my music on without me knowing it. And I remember one day I'm at work and it's so busy and I'm like talking with a bunch of customers. And I keep thinking like, the song sounds so familiar. Like there's just something, the song sounds so familiar. But I'm like distracted, kind of talking with people. And then I was like, who is this? And I was like, my first thought was, is this Halsey? Is this Billie Eilish? And I was like naming a bunch of art, like who do I listen to? And what is this song? And then suddenly I had this realization that it was me and it was like one of my songs. And I was like, that was such a, that was like a, what this happened. Yeah.
And what a crazy feeling that must have been for Elena. It got picked up by CBC Radio, getting played on like all the morning shows all over radio, hearing your music everywhere. She was a guest right before the release of her latest album, Roaring 20s. That came out late last year in 25. And I couldn't have really talked to somebody who went to Berklee School of Music and not wanted to talk to them about that.
Finally got into Berklee, and I was like, let me just pitch myself as a songwriter for other artists, because they know they have like a lot of singers there who need songs. So I went into it with the idea of like, oh, I'll write songs for other people. And I think that was like this big opening. Like I arrived there and suddenly it's like, oh, I can write my songs, I can show people, and other people can, they're helping me edit it, they're helping us move it forward, we're all on the same page here. I can give it to a singer, she's going to have a producer produce it, she's going to feature it, it's going to be like the whole track is coming to fruition. And I think that was my first time of then seeing that fully come to fruition. And that was like I went there in 2013. I was there for 3 years until 2016. And I released my first music in 2016. I moved to New York and started releasing my own songs. And I think around then was like, okay, I'm going to be the artist and I'm going to do this.
Was it the same sort of thing I've heard Neil Diamond say? Like, I wrote songs, people weren't singing them the way that I wanted them to be. Like, it was that sort of thing. Like, I'm writing these songs for people, but it's not turning out the way that I wanted it to turn out.
Completely. I thought like, I'm going to put out music and everybody's going to think it's so good and it's going to be great. And I would like put all my last, like any money I had, any energy I had, anything into like each song, getting it produced, release it. And then it would just kind of like sit there and fall flat.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what's going on? And then do it again and again. And it's actually interesting now, like even looking back, there's certain music that I might look back on and be like, oh yeah, I was still learning in my songwriting and developing. And while I do think that I have developed and improved in certain ways, a lot of it I look back on and I'm like, oh no, this is really well done and this is great. And it still will take off. Like it's just like hasn't been the right timing yet, or you just have to keep doing the same thing. But I think I was always confused, like, how come I think this is so good, and the people I do show it to think it's really good, but it's just like, why is nothing happening?
Parallel 49 Brewing is proudly the official beer of the Toddcast podcast, where craft meets character.
I said goodbye to kitchen parties, cigarettes with lipstick on it. Red wine makes me miss all those freckles on your face. We didn't have a lot to say, and I couldn't really speak Francais, but our bodies seemed to find a way. Hey, 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 I'm listening to the waves again, breaking as they say your name. I know it sounded so cliche. Urinate, urinate. I wrote so many songs for you, baby, but nothing could ever match what you gave me. I know it sounded so cliche. Urinate, urinate. I still wonder what you had in mind whenever shooting star line. You had to push it all aside. I'm listening to the waves again, breaking as they say your name. I know it sounded so cliche. Urinate, urinate. I wrote so many songs for you, baby, but nothing could ever match what you gave me. I know it sounded so cliche. Urinate, urinate. I said goodbye to kitchen parties, cigarettes with lipstick on it. Red wine makes me miss all those freckles on your face. Conversations with the fingers, always coming late for dinner, wrapped around Mother Nature's arms to find escape. I can see the sun is shining, I don't need no silver lining. I'm listening to the waves again, say your name. I know it's sounding so cliche. Urinate, urinate. I wrote so many songs for you, baby, but nothing could ever match what you gave me. I know it sounded so cliche. Urinate, urinate, urinate.
And now, listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
As a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you hit that mark? Did you come close? For me, I had no idea until I was about 20 years old. Radio, working with music. It just made sense. I'm a music spaz, love to talk. At that point, it became the focus, the obsession almost, the drive, the job, the creative outlet, the constant. Pretty much everything I've built since then has come to that decision. The reason I bring this up is that former Hollywood Life senior editor Cassie Gill had a very different timeline. She's known basically her whole life that she wanted to work in Hollywood, not just be around it, but be inside it, writing it, covering it, living it. Cassie and I go back to her time as a producer at CTV here in Vancouver just over a decade ago. And since then, she's made the move to Los Angeles, worked as a senior editor at Hollywood Life. She's now fully in that world. Celebrity coverage, fashion, beauty, entertainment news, red carpets, after parties. Of course, we touched on all of that. The Will Smith and Chris Rock slap came up. So did Reese Witherspoon's split from Jim Toth, binging Succession and White Lotus, Kourtney Kardashian, her trip to Turks and Caicos, plus some Canucks talk, her 5-year goals, the importance of networking. Listen to this.
I think you're totally right. And I would say for me, I think, sometimes I feel like I'm not someone who's particularly good at anything. Like I'm a good writer. I'm not the best writer. I'm okay on air. I'm not the best person at that. But I think what sets me apart from the pack is that I understand relationships and I understand people. And that's very much a product of coming from a social networking focused family. Like I'm a third generation of this. And, it's funny, like going to a family dinner with my grandparents who are 90 and 91 now, they'll be going on about their UBC days and, people that they knew and how that sort of will connect back to the circle today. So I feel like it starts with them, went down to my dad, my uncle and my aunt, and then down to me. And I feel like I'm very much a product of them and their success in that realm because these people love an event too. So I wouldn't be who I am today also without them. And I think like I've been able to sort of apply that DNA into the media and entertainment space. And I think a successful way, because like I said, my network, I feel like just always continues to pay off and is ultimately, the people opening doors.
Listen to this on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. And now, highlighting our next Blue Light Sessions, powered in part by Canadian Club Whiskey. Meet your new cold one. We serve Canadian Club and Ginger ready-to-drink cocktails at all of our live shows. Visit CanadianClub.com today.
It's on the tip of my tongue. It's in the pit of my stomach. It's on the nights when I'm young. It's on the nights when the sunset permits. When we're divided like centuries. Revived with mouth to mouth. I don't know why we collided. We can never work it out. We can't ever work it out. Chaos, chemistry. Moments so serene. Got no guarantees as I dive in and ask why I'm here. We can never win. It's like a shot from a gun. My head is running in circles. It's on the nights when I'm done. It's on the nights when you still capture me. When we're divided like centuries.
so that's catchy, right? That's Claire Twitty and a new song for her called Chaos Chemistry. This Friday, July 3rd, she's headlining our next live show at the Blue Light Studio in beautiful East Vancouver. Tess Anderson will open up the night. Going to play something from her in just a little bit. We'll get the doors open at 7 o'clock for you. The show rolls around 8-ish. I say 8-ish because sometimes it's 8:20, 8:15, whatever, right? Grab tickets through eventbrite.ca, Brite, eventbrite.ca, search Toddcast. You can't miss these shows. Claire played a couple years back now, I guess, and it was just so good that we're doing it again, and an album release of sorts, because she's going to be playing her new record front to back, which should be pretty cool. So hope to see you there. Played you Dominic Fricot, and that was a nice song for him. I don't know that it's new. It might be like one of his latest songs. It's called Renee. Dom's been over in Germany for about a decade now, I guess. Comes back to Vancouver here and there. No doubt he's a jewel in Berlin's scene as well. I know that he often plays there as well. He's one of those guys, when you see him, it just seems so effortless. Because he's played a couple podcast shows over the years, once at the Roxy downtown Vancouver before he moved away. And since he moved to Germany as well, he told me he was coming back for a visit. So we did a little something together. And I don't know, maybe it was like probably 3 or 4 years maybe now. But I love Dom, dig his music, and he's just great at what he does. Okay, so coming up shortly, and stop me if you've heard this before, Juno award-winning producer Brian Howes talking about producing American Idol winners Chris Daughtry and David Cook. That is powered by our good friends at the Home Dwell Group. I'm best friends, in fact, with one of the partners there, Kyle. He's been in that world since graduating high school, like total drafting nerd in high school. Got in originally designing homes and buildings in Vancouver, and for years now, buying and selling homes as well. So he'll be able to tell you if it's worth buying, what needs fixing up. So if you're in the market for a new home, if you're selling your house, contact Kyle today through homedwell.ca, homedwell.ca. First, back to more guest highlights, this time sporting guests in our Canada Day 26 podcast. Building the railway across Canada wasn't just construction. It was survival and ambition stitched together. In the late 1800s, the goal was simple in theory, but brutal in execution, connecting a country that barely held itself together on a map. Workers carved through mountains, endured extreme winters. They pushed steel across impossible terrain. And once it was done, everything changed. Trade expanded, towns suddenly appeared, immigration surged, and Canada finally started to feel physically connected. Canadian IFBB pro, bodybuilder, and fitness coach Alicia Bell was born in Plaster Rock, New Brunswick. We live on opposite sides of the country. She's now in Toronto, of course, the Toddcast based here in Vancouver. Alicia's well known in the Canadian fitness and bodybuilding scene. She's earned the IFBB Pro card after winning the Canadian National Pro Qualifier in Toronto and made her pro debut at the 2019 Toronto Pro Super Show. If you want to get thoughts on metabolism and meal planning, there isn't a Canadian better equipped to give you advice.
It just depends on your goals, but it also depends. Everybody's metabolism is so different. Like, unfortunately, I'm not one of those people that's blessed to be able to eat like high calories. Like, I haven't even competed in quite some time, and my calories are probably like, people wouldn't even consider them high, but they're high for me. And in order to like, for me to get like as lean as I do when I compete, like I have to do high cardio and like pretty much go no carb, where somebody can like, eat a ton of carbs into the show because their genetics just allow them to. Like, some people are natural ectomorphs, but I'm like a natural mesomorph, and my body wants to grow, but I'm also trying to stay in a category. And so like when it comes to like meals and, calorie ranges, it really just depends on the person. Like it's calorie in versus calorie out to an extent, but that's limiting because a lot of times like you can eat less, but you've dieted for years and years and years. So your metabolism is downregulated. So when people diet for the first time, they lose so much weight at the beginning because their body is used to eating in this huge surplus, and you take a little bit away and their body's like, what is this? And then they get to a certain point and like their body catches up to like what's happening. And so then they have to drop the calories again. And that's kind of like the ideal thing, is that you just want to go little bit by little bit and see the most changes. You don't want to like dive in and cut out like 1,000 calories. You want to try and keep your calories as high as you can so you can sustain energy as you like diet down. So it's like, you know, sometimes more isn't better, like cutting more isn't better.
Yeah, she says when people diet for the first time, they lose so much weight at the beginning. If you're like me and getting more and more into fitness, or at least stretching and kind of, you know, aware of that, this is the conversation you want to dig up on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, of course, if you'd rather watch it. And I thought this was cool. The last time talking to Alicia, because she's been on a couple times now, she tried out for Amazing Race Canada with her friend and Olympic sprinter, Adrian Power.
Me and my best friend, Adrian Power, she's a former Olympic track athlete. We got to the second round of Amazing Race Canada this year. That's about as far as.
Serious?
We only got to the second round though.
That's amazing.
I thought I was going to get further because I put a lot of like celebrities in my, like on our audition tape. Like I had Shaq, Marlon Wayans, Damian Wayans. I don't even remember who else. I put a whole bunch of celebrities in it. And like the producer wrote me as soon as I submitted it. She goes, "Is that Shaq or is that AI Shaq?" I'm like, "No, that's Shaq. Like, and I was like, so cool. Nobody else is going to have these people in their audition tape, but I guess.
Right. I guess. What did you have to do in the first round of that? Like that would be something like for me, I don't necessarily like it is reality TV, but it's not like I don't think look and go like, oh, it's Big Brother. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's not the same. It's different.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's still reality because they're filming you, but it's like your challenges, right?
Yeah. So what did you have to do in that first round?
The first was like a audition tape. So Adrian and I did like a split screen kind of thing, and then at the end it was I was like, "Oh yeah, be ready," because we're talking whatever in the video, and at the end I was like, "Oh yeah, be ready because all my celebrity friends are gonna be watching," and she's like, "What? Your celebrity friends?" And then it cuts to like all my celebrities, well not all, but a bunch of celebrities. Yeah. So I was like, who's going to beat that? And so then we got on to the second round, and the second round was just, it was like a questionnaire on both of our ends, but that's as far as we got.
Interesting. Because of course I would never know that process, right? Like,
yeah, after the first round, if you get through the second one, they tell you can't talk about it anymore because.
Oh shit. You're at that point.
Well, yeah, we were at that point, but then they never contacted us for the interview. There was supposed to be an in-person interview after that, and they never contacted us. We're like, damn it.
Yeah.
Love that. She goes, I thought I was going to get further because I put a lot of like celebrities in my audition tape. Is that something that you would do, by the way, go on a reality TV show like that? If I was to do one, like The Amazing Race sounds pretty cool. So from a Canadian IFBB pro to a former NHL defenseman, Brent Sopel was born in Calgary, Alberta, played over 160 games in the league, including a Stanley Cup win with the Chicago Blackhawks in 2010. You know him, of course, from playing on the Canucks as well, blocking shots and playing on the penalty kill, a key depth player. And I wanted to share a clip with you about winning the Stanley Cup. First, Brent talks about being diagnosed as dyslexic and starting the Brent Sopel Foundation.org.
Yeah, I started my foundation a couple of years ago. You know, I found out 10 years ago that I'm dyslexic. And, through that, through my struggles, I decided to, start my own foundation. And a lot of it's for advocating and, helping get teachers trained in Wilson Reading and Gordon Gillingham. But I always say I got to change the world. But before I can do that, I got to educate the world. I only think about 20% of the population actually know what dyslexia is.
And what's the percentage, do you know offhand, of the people that actually are dyslexic? My older brother is for sure.
Yeah, it's 1 in 5. So 20%.
20% of the people.
And it's hereditary. So autism is 1 in 65 and not hereditary. So you just keep passing it on, it keeps going and going and going. So it's not going anywhere. It's something that you're born with. You can't take a shot or a pill or anything. It is what it is.
So are you raising money? Is there a way for that to be fought? Like how do they fight this?
Well, yeah, I'm obviously raising money so that I can advocate for these kids. And when you're talking about 20% of the population, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't race, gender, sex. It doesn't matter if you're Russian or Chinese or Japanese or Canadian. It affects everybody. So raise the money so I'm able to go to schools and able to advocate for these kids and get them to understand what their goals are and what their strengths and weaknesses are, I've been up the White House speaking, a couple times, and going to go back up there whenever I can get back up there with everything going on.
Well said. I always say I'm going to change the world, but before I can do that, I can educate the world. Brent's good people, super giving with his time, and you wouldn't believe the amount of times he shared his visit to the Toddcast. Okay, so let me cue up the clip about him winning the Stanley Cup as part of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Well, obviously, 1 in a million times on the outdoor rink, and it's a dream come true. So to be able to know that my name's on there and part of a special group when there's so many amazing players that played this game in the NHL that never got an opportunity to win.
Yeah, what a cool feeling for Brent. He goes, to know that my name's on there and part of the special group. So from a retired NHL defenseman to one of the most decorated bobsleigh athletes in history, winning Olympic gold for Canada in 2010, 2014, then capturing gold again in 2022, representing the United States in monobob. Kaillie Humphries, like Brent Sopel, also born in Calgary, Alberta. Across her career, Kaillie has collected 6 Olympic medals, multiple world championships, cementing her legacy. Here she talks about winning gold for the first time in 2010 in women's bobsleigh.
So to date, I'm the only one in women's bobsleigh that has ever defended an Olympic gold medal.
Amazing.
No one had done it before 2014. I had seen it done a couple times on the men's bobsleigh side, and so I'd seen a German, Andre Lange, do it. So he was kind of inspiration in believing that it's possible to be done when the rest of the world says that it's not. And so I knew it was possible, but yeah, I mean, the very first time winning in Vancouver, I mean, both Olympics, I get the question a lot of what one's greater, what one's better, what one do you love better when you bring out the medals or when, people want to hear about experiences. Both were extremely different. It's kind of like saying, which kid do you love more? It's not about which one you love more. They're both very different. Going into 2010, no one really knew who I was. I was definitely the underdog. No one expected very much of me. I always believed it was possible, and I always knew it was going to, take work and concentration and focus. I knew that track better than anybody, and I believed in that, but I knew competition was stiff. It was going to be hard. There were a lot of challenges, and there were a lot of girls that had been doing this sport twice as long as me that were expected to win. And, I think it was an amazing experience to be able to compete at a home Olympics with my family, my country behind me. And I just remember after first run, I was winning the race, and I had never been in that position as an athlete. And you never want to go into a race and have new experiences, but when you're young, up and coming, that happens all the time. And so it was kind of like, okay, you look to the other athletes. I had done world championships before that, and so I just kind of mocked what I was watching Andre do in 2010 and what I was watching a couple of other athletes do, and then was winning second run, was winning after third run, and just went into fourth run, and I knew I didn't want to just go in and try and survive. I knew that fourth and final run at the game, I didn't want to just sit back and try not to crash and just hold on. I didn't know my lead at that point. I didn't know how far behind. It wasn't about the time. I've focused very hard on competing not for the result, but within the journey and the process. And even to this date, I refuse to look at down times, good or bad. I focus on what I can change and what I can control. In that fourth and final run, Heather and I went in wanting to push that sled as hard as we could. I drove each corner the way that I knew how to drive it. I was trying to do each corner better and better each and every run. And we crossed the finish line, and I just remember everybody's cheering, and they're cheering so loud, and you're coming up the braking stretch. And at that point, you don't know. There's no clock right away. You can't look at anything for probably about 4 or 5 seconds to know whether you've done it. So in that time, I was going through the run in my head. I knew there were a couple things that weren't the best in that fourth and final run, but overall, I was happy with how I competed, and everyone was cheering. So I hoped it was possible. And you come up the braking stretch, and at the same point, everyone's from Canada. So they're going to cheer even if you sucked, because they're going to feel bad for you, and, you did a good job. So there's no indication there. And there wasn't for some time. I jumped out of the sled. It wasn't until the coaches and my teammates came running up that, screaming, you won. And at that point, too, you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah, right. She goes, both were extremely difficult. It's kind of like, which kid do you love more, which is fair enough. And if you didn't know, Kaillie was a flag bearer at an Olympic closing ceremony.
that was very cool. I mean, at the end of the day, we'd won. There was a couple interviews and stuff over the next couple days to do. And I remember getting a phone call a couple days after we had won from Steve Podborski, and he'd called me on my cell phone, and I was like, this is weird. You know, the chef de Michelin is calling you. And my first instinct was like, what did you do? What was wrong? It was never to, you know, go to that good place. And he called and, you know, asked if I would like to be flag bearer. And to know that your country supports you and chooses you to represent them. And it wasn't just about Olympic performance. It's not just a one-time thing, but, you know, to walk in carrying your flag representing an entire nation and team because of, you know, your performances over the last couple years. Canada had tons of good performances in Sochi. You know, you have Charles Hamelin, Mikhail Kingsbury, like the list goes on. And so to know that, you know, the Canadian team chooses you to represent them and carry the flag is a huge honor. And to top it all off, it was absolutely amazing. So I was, more than thrilled to accept, and that was definitely an experience of a lifetime.
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca.
Life speeds so fast like we're running out of time. Ignite the gas like you're blowing up my mind. Too many thoughts are going through my head. Quick money, fast, all you're working till you're dead. Try to get ahead, but there's nothing you can do. Every responsibility's all on you. All my aggravation, they say it's just a phase. Hold your anger back just to make it through the maze. My hostile feelings all in you. Blood boils over, there's nothing you can do. Frustrated feelings, cause every day I grind. Hold back my temper, cause now I'm going blind. Red
fast like we're running out of time. Ain't out the gas like you're blowing up my mind. Too many thoughts are going through my head. Quick money, fast, all you're working till you're dead. Dead.
Now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
You know when you've known someone for so long that the timeline kind of gets blurry? Well, that's me and mega producer Brian Howes. We definitely go back to his Closure days. Look out below, I'm letting go. But Brian actually set me straight and reminded me we go back even further to the mid-90s and his time in a band called DDT. And I've been keeping up with him ever since, watching him build an amazing career step by step. He's just a solid guy. And once we got started talking, it went everywhere. From binge-watching Queen's Gambit to being fired up for The Sopranos prequel, we got into recording during COVID and how that changed producing and capturing music. We talked about his path to producing American Idol contestants and winners. More on that in a sec. We talked about playing for Team Canada in national ball hockey. He's that good. Nickelback came up. He helped produce one of their albums. So did having unreleased music from Chris Cornell. He told a great Las Vegas gambling story too. And stop me if you've heard this before. Brian shared how he came to produce American Idol winners Chris Daughtry and David Cook.
I kind of got my foot in there. I think Pete Gambard was always a fan of my bands and was always interested in signing me. Never did, but always poked around. And I think he and Hinder had just come out and was starting to do good. So he was like, hey, I think Brian might be perfect to write with Chris. So I was the first one that Chris wrote with. And we wrote What I Want, which was with the rock song off his first record that Slash played on, which was really cool. We literally wrote that in half an hour in a hotel room. And but that record, geez, 8 million copies worldwide. Isn't that crazy? Biggest debut rock solo record ever. But he was such a good singer. And then I think from there I did the next one and then David Cook. And then they would always call me the Idol Whisperer because whenever the idols would come off Idol, because before they most of the guys were never in bands. They used to work in paint stores and stuff. And then 6 months they were famous. And so they would come off there wanting to be super arty. And it was like, I want to make a Fugazi meets Radiohead album. And then I was the Idol Whisperer, like, yeah, that's cool, dude. But, we gotta make the soccer moms happy that kind of put you on the map here. So I was let's make the soccer moms happy, but still keep the artiness for you. So I was pretty good at kind of bridging that gap and making the label happy and the artist. So it was a lot of fun back in the heyday when they really used to push those guys.
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by the HomeDwell Group. Buying a house? Selling your home? Contact Kyle at homedwell.ca today.
Been convincing yourself now for too long that you don't even know which words are right or wrong. Been telling stories that you can't keep straight. Now we know that it's all just fake. You're staying, I'm saying, quit wasting all my time. You're playing, I'm bailing. Give me some peace of mind. I'm not staying quiet, there's no way to hide it. Give this up, quit crying. You made your bed to lie in. Truth will
No pressure, of course, but I'm expecting a magical night of Tess Anderson. A great song for her. It's called Gaslight, which I would be willing to bet that you'll see this Friday at our next live show. So Blue Light Studio, East Vancouver, cozy little neighborhood recording studio. Most of the time they record bands and artists and stuff, right? You can use their space to record pretty much anything, podcasts or anything audio related. But this Friday, we're taking over the joint. Tess Anderson will open up the night, and Claire Twitty headlines. Good times all around through eventbrite.ca. Eventbrite, eventbrite.ca. You heard Salvador Dream. Yes, that Salvador Dream, and new music from them. Remember in the early 90s, right? They were carving out a name for themselves in Vancouver, and then grunge showed up to the party and shut everything down. Well, they're back. New music. They're playing shows, and they have one with the Toddcast at the end of the month on July 24th. Stale will open up the night. Going to play something from those guys later on. As usual, grab tickets for all of our shows through eventbrite.ca. Eventbrite, eventbrite.ca, all Toddcast shows. Okay, so our final guest, this time some entertainment guests. Episode 393, our Canada Day 26 podcast. Maybe the most Canadian thing of all is that the country still feels unfinished in some ways, still evolving, still debating who it wants to be. There's pride here. There's also self-awareness. Canadians celebrate the beauty of the country while recognizing the flaws and the contradictions. And maybe that's healthier than pretending everything's okay, everything's perfect. Canada's not some magical utopia. It's complicated, expensive, diverse, frustrating. It's gorgeous. It's quiet. It's ambitious. And somehow, despite all the complaints people make about it, there's still that feeling that if you've spent enough time here, a part of it stays with you forever. Canadian film and TV actor Antonio Cupo was born in Vancouver, BC. He studied English Lit and theater in UBC before moving into acting after early experiences in theater and music. Of course, he fronted a rock band in Vancouver in the early 2000s called Hybrid Theory. Good band. It's actually how we first met and how we know each other. Antonio first gained attention through film and TV roles in the early 2000s as well. You'll recognize him from projects like the Lizzie McGuire movie, Elegy, Peacemaker, Bomb Girls. And he says that he can thank his sister Carmelina for being the person who got him into acting.
Yeah, actually, that's true. I feel like all of my successes in life, Carmelina was responsible for them. Like, she was looking for an agent, and she's like, "You should give me your headshot." And then, I got an agent from that. She said, she was like, "Hey, like they really need actors in the, the school plays." And I was like, "All right, sure, I guess I'll come." She's like, "You really should come." I was playing sports and doing other things, and then suddenly I found this passion for for being on being in the spotlight in that way. I guess being in the spotlight is not the thing. It was more just acting, and the spotlight came along with it. But all of my success in life are due to my sister. She's been an amazing influence in my life.
Love that. He goes, all of my successes in life are due to my sister. She's been an amazing influence. Carmelina is also a beautiful person. We know each other too. So you'll know Antonio from his work, particularly with Hallmark and Lifetime Productions. Here he talks about European customs of allowing kids to drink, nudity on film and beaches, and their laid-back lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's how you marry those that I think really makes a difference. I mean, being European, of course, I've always offered my kids alcohol. Oh. Like, from the time they could basically eat solid foods. Yeah, I've always dipped my finger in a little glass of wine and touch a lip.
But that's also kind of I when I went through school for BCIT and radio and stuff, I lived with my aunt.
Yeah.
It's an Italian family, Minichello. And it's kind of isn't that sort of like the customs or the heritage of Italian families, is it not?
100%.
Yeah.
There isn't a child in Italy that has not tried wine or beer. I mean, no one's feeding kids spirits. They're feeding them wine and beer.
Right.
And they're not even feeding them, but it's there. My kid sees a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or a beer, he doesn't want to touch it.
Right.
He just like, "That's beer. I don't like the taste of it." When they were kids, they were kind of curious about it. I remember once my son came down and there was a beer on the table, and he walked up, and I'm sitting on the phone, right? We're just talking, and he walks up down the steps right up to the table, grabs my beer, takes a sip, puts it down, and walks back up the steps. And I was just like, what just happened?
That's awesome.
Literally the last time he ever tasted beer.
Yeah. He found out he didn't like it. There you go. There's probably less drinking problems in that country than there are in this continent.
In Italy, there is in Italy and Spain, and in Europe in general, but there's nudity on TV, right?
And on the beaches,
every show's got dancing girls. People are smoking everywhere. People are drinking. I mean, literally daily with every single meal, and none of those problems exist.
Right. It's because it's not normalized, but again, it's part of the customs. It's like, that you shouldn't be abusing that stuff.
And then you go to like some places in North America that are so repressed sexually, and in other ways, and they get all twisted up in their brain, and then they end up, shooting somebody or raping somebody or doing some crazy stuff.
Right.
It's like all these people needed was just a little bit of like an open mentality, like, hey, stuff exists, enjoy yourself, don't screw up your life. You know what I mean?
Right. It's almost because it's vilified, right? It's almost at that point of like, oh, don't do this. You can't drink until you're 19. You can't do this until, and it's because of that. It's like, okay, maybe now I will want to try it, and then I'll do it too much.
Dude, how many times were you sitting at the Roxy and there's like, a busload of girls from that are like just turned of age for Canada, and they're showing up just getting sloshed.
Right.
Guys and girls getting sloshed because there's 2 years, we have drinking age 2 years before America. So, they're coming up here and they're getting hammered.
Right.
Is the drinking age still the same?
19, yeah.
19 here, right?
Yep.
And it's 21 for America.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're coming up here getting
wasted. Yeah.
And you're going like, all they have to do is lower the drinking age and they can get wasted at least and go home and sleep and not, find themselves in a difficult situation to be in.
Right.
Compromising situation in another country.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah. It's so true. He goes, there isn't a child in Italy that has not tried wine or beer. I mean, no one's feeding kids spirits. From a buzzworthy actor to a Canadian voice actor best known for his massive range across animation, anime, video games, David Kaye. He's one of the guys you hear on this podcast. We know each other from my time at CFOX. He was at one point that station's voice. So when I was let go from CFOX and I started up the podcast, I asked David, would he consider being the voice of the Toddcast? And somehow he agreed. David was born in Peterborough, Ontario. You've heard him iconically as the voice of Megatron in multiple entries of the Transformer franchise, Beast Wars, Beast Machines, and the Unicron trilogy. He was Optimus Prime in Transformers Animated. You've heard him play Professor X and Apocalypse in X-Men Evolution, Clank in the Ratchet and Clank game, Ford Cruller in Psychonauts, and Duckworth in Duck's Tale. He's huge. He was the announcer for HBO's Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, contributed voices to numerous Marvel and DC animated projects. So I had to ask him, is it DC or Marvel?
I was a lot of Marvel, but I love the DC universe as well. And I also got into other crazy stuff. One of my favorite DC comics was Plop. I don't know if you remember Plop.
Plop, no.
It was a weird sort of Mad TV or Mad spin-off comic book. Really strange characters and creatures. And I used to love to stare at them and freak myself out. I still love that. And that was a DC.
Yeah. Did you ever get in the Fabulous Freak Brothers?
Yeah, I remember them, sure.
Yeah, that was really good. I like that one.
And the cool thing is, living here, is Marvel. I've been at Marvel's head offices, and I haven't been over to DC yet. But the guy, a friend of mine, used to be with Marvel. He's now over at DC, and even at my age, I still drive down, Alameda or whatever it is, and I go, hey, that's Marvel. Or over in Glendale at Marvel, and then DC has put up a big building, and as a child, you grew up with these, and there are these big complexes with people in there drawing things and making things, it's just such a cool thing for me to know that that's right there.
David goes, man, I used to love to stare at them and freak myself out. So crazy to talk to one of the guys that you hear on DC and Marvel animated shows. And from all of the shows I mentioned just a minute back, what does David consider his career highlight? Now, granted, this interview was about 8 years back.
Oh, man, there's been a lot. I mean, I think the Megatron thing, the Transformers, was a big deal when that first started happening. A chance to work on the X-Files a couple of times in front of the camera. I was horrible, but just the fact that I was on the show and such an iconic franchise. And, you know, there's been many. When I was hired for Optimus Prime on Transformers Animated here at Cartoon Network, and a chance to work with SpongeBob and Patrick, you know, which is kind of cool. Bill Fagerbakke and Tom Kenny Tom Kenny's become a good friend, and be in the same room as your heroes, my heroes like Corey Burton, and these iconic voices here. It was just and still is, continues to be a thrill. And then we're sitting last night, me and James Arnold Taylor, who plays Ratchet in the Ratchet and Clank, and we're having dinner after the screening and hanging out, getting to know each other. And we both came from radio, turns out, same sort of beginnings. And we said, do you ever think we'd have our names on like a poster and we're promoting a film? And yeah, we both shook our heads and go, no. See, you never know.
I think that's sort of simplifying things. He goes, the Megatron thing, the Transformers was a big deal when that first started happening. Like, dude, it is still freaking massive. And from one of the biggest voiceover actors on the planet to a life coach and content creator that you'll know from sharing personal development focused content, a good friend of the podcast named Mandy Ross. She was born in Toronto, Canada. You'll see her everywhere. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. She has a big following. They're loyal. Expect conversations on mindset, motivation, navigating your personal growth. Mandy went to Humber College, and her first job was covering the Toronto International Film Festival.
Actually, I think I feel like I Mandy or manifested this one, but straight out of school, I actually landed a really cool opportunity. There was a man who I had gone through the journalism program with at Humber College. Yay to all my fellow Humber graduates. And he had worked with a publishing company here out of Toronto, and they had it was kind of like a healthy cosmopolitan magazine, and they wanted to cover TIFF, like the Toronto International Film Fest. Yeah. So they actually hired me on as the reporter to go and cover all the red carpets, interview celebrities, and for someone fresh out of J school, as a lot of us refer to it as, like for me, it was just, wanting at that time in my life to really be an entertainment host and journalist. That was a huge, amazing, incredible opportunity for me. So that was the first one.
She goes, they actually hired me on as a reporter to go cover all the red carpets, interview celebrities, and once you get to know Mandy, you'll know that job covering red carpets ticks off a lot of the boxes. Now she posts short form and longer video content, engages with themes, as I mentioned, like self-improvement, clarity, building healthier habits. She's really good at what she does: storytelling, reflection, encouragement. And here she talks about the law of attraction.
I'm going to go on, just mention this. I have nothing against law of attraction, and I've even preached about law of attraction until recently. I've immersed myself in the manifestation world and all these different techniques, and I've seen things just shift completely in a positive way for myself. See, here's the thing with law of attraction. Law of attraction a lot of times will teach you to think about just what you want. And for most people can sit there and dream up what they do want. The frustration a lot of times for people, getting back to like just putting more positivity in your life, it's not really about that, because where people usually tend to get tripped up is, yes, maybe for 5 minutes you can sit there and think about all the dreams that you want and stare at your vision board. Like, I have a vision board myself, but a lot of these techniques are great when you're only focused on those things you want. But for the other 23.5 hours of the day, or 23.599 hours, your mind is going off. And if you're constantly focused on what you don't have, or your lack or scarcity, or whatever the negative stuff's going on up here is going on, that's what you're going to naturally attract more of into your life. You get what you focus on dominantly. Your dominant thoughts are what create your reality.
The Toddcast Podcast. Find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and at toddhancock.ca.
Feeling that they are going to absolutely crumble the walls of Blue Light Studio at the end of the month. They're called Stale. A cool song for them. It's called Day One. As mentioned, you've got a chance to see these guys live at the end of the month. Again, it's July 24, playing the Blue Light Sessions, opening up the night. Excited to see what they bring to the table. I've heard nothing but good things, so hopefully you can make it out to see one of Vancouver's rising rock bands. And that's going to do it for this one. Episode 393, another Canada Day podcast in the books. And you know, when you really think about it, Canada is a pretty remarkable place. We're a country that can argue passionately about hockey, and we apologize when somebody bumps into us, and somehow survive winters that would make most of the planet question their life choices. We've given the world everything from insulin to poutine, Neil Young to Rush, and a long list of artists and athletes, innovators, storytellers who continue to punch way above their weight. What I love most about Canada isn't found on a postcard. It's the people. It's my neighbor who shovels my sidewalk without being asked. We don't always agree, and we certainly aren't perfect, but there's certainly something unique and Canadian about finding common ground and moving forward together, right? From the Atlantic to the Pacific to the Arctic, this country is filled with incredible landscapes, incredible stories, incredible people. So wherever you celebrate today, thanks for spending a little bit of it, your Canada Day, here. Once again, my name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for being there, for listening. If you like what you heard, please tell your friends about us. We are a part of the Realm.fm network, a bunch of fiction and nonfiction podcasts there. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You like the videos, of course, we have a YouTube channel as well. Comment and rate the podcast. It helps out big time with search results. We are Toddcast. podcast. A huge thanks to all of our stellar sponsors. They're the reason that we move and breathe. You can find all sponsor websites at toddhancock.ca. If you would like to sponsor the podcast, you know you can for as little as $10 a day. Contact info is at the homepage. And this still applies. If you help us find a sponsor, we'll give you money. We'll give you a commission if you guide a sponsor our way. Pretty cool, right? Till next time, don't be an asshole, because nobody, certainly not Canadians, nobody wants to be around that. Have fun, play hard, and most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.